This show contains mature content. The views and opinions presented belong solely to the people expressing them, and they do not in any way represent Goonies Comedy Club, the Crooked Pint Ale House, or any of their staff or management. Besides, every person on this show is a comedian, and they might just be joking. If you could be trapped on a deserted island with anybody, one person, why would it be me?
You?
I think because
Roll lunch, we're having lunch on the road, yeah.
Welcome to Road Lunch. We're here at Goonies Comedy Club, located at the Crooked Pint Ale House in Rochester, Minnesota. My name's Andy Fisher, and joining me are comedians Jon Huck
hi.
and Paul Farahvar.
Hi.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, whichever.
Sorry.
It's okay. You know.
Let's do it again. No, I'm just kidding.
We can do whatever you want, really. Thanks for being here, first and foremost. We want to get kind of like a glimpse of what it's like in the life of a comedian, right? The progress of a career from everything from a beginning open micer to the movie star, rock star comedian, right? And everything in between. And we want to get to know you guys a little bit as well, to kind of get to understand your path through comedy. And as I kind of told you beforehand, you can answer these questions however you want. None of this matters. Let's just have fun. And we're very grateful for you to be here. To start off, to get to know you, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Warrenville, Illinois, which is like probably 5.5 hours south of here. Born and raised in that area until I was 18. So yeah, I'm Illinois. I came up to Wisconsin a lot for family vacations, though.
Sure.
I grew up in Oak Brook, which is about 10 minutes away from John.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't know that, 5.5 hours away as well. But yeah, that's right. I was basically there from second grade on or third grade on.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. How long have you been doing comedy? When did you start?
I started in about 2000, I would say. My first probably official open mic would have been somewhere in like the November 2000 area. I don't have an official date. I don't post an anniversary. I don't.
Sure.
I just don't do that. That's not. I don't. But
I do. I post. I post 6 months.
every 3 hours.
Just
it's another 7 million hours in comedy.
Every month I posted it. No.
But yeah, I would say end of 2000.
Sure.
I started late 2011, April 2011. I don't know the exact date, but I did different stuff before I found comedy. I was doing improv for a while, and then before that I was a lawyer for a long time, and before that I was a musician, actually.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
I moved from being a musician to hosting shows for a while, and then went back to, I just liked being on stage, and I felt like that was the best part. So
Sure.
I found comedy late.
When you say hosting shows, do you mean hosting comedy shows? Or
No, I was hosting
shows?
music shows.
Sure.
So it was kind of fun because now it's a nightmare. You know, you think about it, but at the time, I got so comfortable on stage because you have people that do not want you on stage, and you're doing 2 minutes, and they just want to see
The band.
yeah.
Get out of here, dude.
Oh, you would do comedy as
I would
part
do
of hosting?
comedy a little bit. I would do crowd work, and I would do just stupid little things that I would do to just warm up the crowd. And it turned out to be like a cool way to just be comfortable on stage. And
Sure.
but you know, I watched Conan. They asked him to do a festival to introduce a band. Like, all right, you can just do like 5-10 minutes up top, and he just goes, "Yeah, I'm doing 30 seconds." and that's the
Even
best
he
way to
gets
describe
it,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Because they're like, people think that even a big name, nobody cares. They just want to see whatever they paid to
Whatever's
see.
on the ticket. Your name's not on
Yeah.
that ticket.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
know you. They
Right.
don't want to see you.
Which is kind of crazy because you hear about back in the day, like Tom Dreesen and all those guys, they used to open for like Frank Sinatra
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and it worked. Like, how did they get that to work?
I think that's a stylistic thing. I think
Yeah.
Dreesen's style was like the comedic version of what those guys were doing, and they always like to incorporate that kind of humor.
Right.
When you do go, like I did the same thing. I did it for a band, this band called Virgil. They played a reunion gig at the Viper Room, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do some time at the Viper Room while we're setting up?" And I go, "Oh man, that sounds great." Like an idiot, and I get on the stage is like, you know, the size of this coffee cup, and like they're all behind me trying to, and the rest of the band didn't know I was going to be there,
Yeah.
and the audience did not know I was going to be there, so the audience is like, is this part of it? And then they just started talking, and the band, I could look back and just see them leering at me as they like laid out cable, like, what are you doing? It was really
blowing
uncomfortable.
Yeah, there were other bands like in the '70s where they had openers, and I was like,
Gladys Knight and those guys would have
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It's
Cryer
crazy.
opened for a lot of like Motown acts and stuff. But that's like, again, that's like an event, man. You're going like, oh, we're gonna go see the Temptations and Richard Pryor. Like,
right,
Yeah.
that is a night of, unless you're gonna tack on a baseball game, that's just about everything you could want to do in a night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you got people buying the ticket just to see Pryor.
Yeah,
and
then
hey, the
people buying
Temptations
tickets
are
just
gonna.
to see the Temptations. It's being like, wow, what a great
Scam, yeah.
cross promotion.
Yeah, John, did you do anything other than comedy before comedy?
Yeah, I
Was there-
mean, I graduated college in '98, and then went to Europe for like a month with some friends, and then I kind of was bouncing back and forth. I was in D.C. for a second, working at a bookstore, and I was back in Illinois, living on someone's couch, and eventually, like October of '99, November of '99, I moved out to Los Angeles, and started working in production pretty much. So
Sure.
I was doing production assistant work and like, kind of runner type jobs and stuff like that. And then some temp work here and there for insurance companies. But that was like, that also, even when I started doing comedy, I kept doing that stuff because comedy doesn't pay my bills for the most part. Back then it didn't for sure.
Sure.
I can barely make ends meet now. So it's like, but yeah, back then it was just kind of whatever production work I could get my hands on and still feel like I was part of the entertainment industry. So
Sure. Did you go to school for production? Is that kind of what your focus was?
I did
or-
not, man. I have a degree in English literature. I went to school in Northland College in Ashland, Wisconsin. I had no idea that Los Angeles was an obtainable thing. I never thought about it really. I was just like, yeah, man, that would be great to be an actor or whatever. And because no one around me was doing it. No one had said, yeah, no, I went out, took acting classes, and I took this route, and this is how I went. And I didn't know I could just, at 16, I could be driving into the city to do open mics. You know what I mean? I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So I started later, 24, I think, 25 was like my first time I started doing
Sure.
when I first started doing comedy. But I also don't think that's important in the sense that it's an ageless industry.
Yeah. Lots of people start all points in their lives. It's kind of weird to hear that you moved to LA, then started comedy. That's not
That's
the
what everybody
usual.
says. No, especially because I came from Illinois. I remember a guy, after my first open mic, a guy was like, oh, you're pretty good. How long have you been doing this? And of course, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm a natural. Like I did one open mic. I read bus directions. I talked about how I look like Chris Elliott. And I got like a couple of laughs. And then that was it. And the guy was like, oh, yeah. And I go, oh, this is my first time. This is my first time. He goes, wow, where are you from? I go, I'm from Illinois. He's like, Chicago? And I go, no. Right outside the city. He goes, and you came here to do comedy? He like didn't know what to say to me. He was like, okay, good luck. And then he just walked away. And I was like, did I make a mistake? But again, I just didn't know.
That was Dane Cook the whole time. That's so weird.
But I didn't even when I was starting in LA, I didn't realize that was not probably the best plan of attack. But at the same time, wherever you start, you just have to do it.
How'd the switch go off? What brought you to LA? And in LA, what made you start doing comedy?
I just needed a change. I was doing nothing in Illinois. I was literally like working 3 different jobs, like just grinding against everything, and it wasn't productive in any way. They weren't jobs I wanted to excel in. It wasn't anything I wanted to do with my life. And when I had a friend say he was moving out there, I just went with, and I was out there for months before it was my mom who was like, what are you doing? And I go, I don't know. I'm working these temp jobs. I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, why don't you go on stage and tell jokes? You've always liked comedy. And I was like,
Wow.
You're an idiot. That's not how it works. Just go on stage and tell jokes. And then it turns out this is pre-internet, so I just like opened an LA Weekly and was like, oh. It was like actually not pre-internet. It was the beginning of the internet, and you couldn't just search for stuff and find it right away and be like, we're good. Like,
There were like 5 websites back then.
so yeah, pop-ups and all that shit. So I found some open mics in the LA Weekly, and I started taking the bus, man, and just going out and just checking it out.
Cool. What about Paul? So you said you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
Obviously, probably went to school for that. I'm
I
guessing.
did. I went to a school,
hope so.
one of the top schools in all of Chicago.
Yeah.
I comedy stand-up wasn't on my radar. It was kind of a weird kind of fell into it. A friend of mine was doing stand-up, and I was going to be like his lawyer. I was like, I'll just be your lawyer, and I'll just help you write stuff. Because I liked writing. I didn't think I could perform.
Yeah.
And then he was opening for Bob Saget one day, and he goes, "Can you come backstage and act like my manager?" I used to manage bands when I was doing music too, so like that was something I could do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll say I'm your manager. I'm backstage, and I'm there with Bob Saget, and I was drunk because it was a Cubs home opener. And I mean, Cubs revolve around my life so much, but
We're
that's
playing
a whole
right
nother-
now, actually. We're
I know.
making a sacrifice to be here.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I really do.
pitching, but it's all right. So we're standing back there, and I'm telling Bob a story. I don't remember what it was because I'd been drinking, and he goes, "Oh, are you going to do that tonight?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's Chris. That's not me." I mean, if you were, my friend is Middle Eastern too, so if you weren't paying attention or you're racist, we look the same. I'm not saying Bob is, but he's like, well, just go up there and do that. I'm like, oh no, I don't do stand up. I'm just hanging out.
Yeah.
I'm like his pseudo manager. He's like, just go up and do a couple minutes. I want to riff off what you did. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you have a room of people being like, yeah, go up. It's sold out room at casino in Indiana. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going. Long story short, I didn't go up. But I had the confidence. The next day, I did an open mic, and there was a contest, and I won it. And I was like, "This is cool."
Seed got
And I've been
planted,
chasing that
bam.
rush all because of Bob Saget.
I'm surprised you didn't give into that pressure and be like, because that's also like would be a crazy first time on stage. Like, 'cause everyone's like, my first time on stage, there was 3 people in the audience. They were just inside to stay out of the cold, and everyone was coughing, and it sucked. And like yours would have been like, yeah, it's a sold out room, and
Sold out room.
everyone
Bomb
was
for
excited
5
to see-
minutes.
Yeah, but you never know. Like sometimes those sold out rooms will give you the love you need enough to make you think, oh man, I'm a natural.
I can do
In
this,
hindsight,
yeah.
I'm glad I didn't because
Yeah.
I probably would have not done stand up because I've been like, this was horrible.
fallen out of love with it
experience.
right away. Yeah.
And I mean, I had been writing stuff for my friend, and then like, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that," but I'm like, "I'm gonna try it." And then I did it, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And yeah, it could have been a totally different world.
Now
if I
that
went
friend
out.
is your butler, right?
Yeah, we're starting a sitcom. No, but-
Kind of looking at the progression of what brings you to it and getting to know you from the start. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Was it lawyer, comedian? Was it English lit major?
I had it by the time I was 8. I was either going to be a professional baseball player or the Incredible Hulk.
Cool.
And when I turned 14, people started to be able to throw curveballs at like 70 miles an hour, and I started to step away from baseball. Like, I don't know if this is for me, really. And then I found out the Hulk thing took a lot of like radiation or something, and I was like, I don't want that either.
At 14.
Yeah. But like, by the time I was 21, I was like, I guess this Hulk thing is out the window. My parents did not support that dream. It was rough. No, I mean, as a kid, I was like, I kind of saw life, like once I figured out I probably wasn't going to be a baseball player, I was like, okay, I'll get a job, like I'll work for, like my dad was a magazine editor, my friends worked in steel, like I was just like, I figured I'd probably end up in a trade, but like I'm useless with my hands. Like my friends can fix motorcycles and stuff, and I can't put together more than like 5 Legos. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. So I was really, I thought in high school, then I started read like Thompson and I was like, I'm gonna be a writer. I'm gonna write a novel. I'm gonna be Kerouac. I'm gonna be Vonnegut. And then you sit down to write a book, and you're like, God, this is hard. I don't want to do this anymore after like 1 page. So
Like when you were typing, it was like this.
that's how it was. Like, this sucks. I hate writing. So yeah, I've always loved comedy, though. I mean, I at a very early age was exposed to like Laurel and Hardy and the Three Stooges and the Marx Brothers, and my dad and my mom liked good comedy, and then we all watched like I couldn't watch Carlin at an early age, but we did watch. I know this is probably not appropriate anymore, but we did watch Bill Cosby himself,
Sure.
and as a family, that was the first thing we all kind of laughed at. But the first comic I ever saw on TV was Dana Carvey on Turkey Television before he got SNL doing Choppin' Broccoli, and I was like, what is this guy doing? Like I was dying laughing. I was like, this is hilarious, and I I don't know, I kind of fell in love with it at that point, just like thinking it was such a neat thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
That was probably way off the question, because the question
you
was
answered
like,
the
what
question.
else was I going to do? And, like,
I just can't believe you thought at 14 you could be Hulk. Incredible Hulk. I thought I was going to be a politician. I always wanted to go into politics. I lived in D.C. for a year. I worked in politics all through my life, on campaigns and stuff. So I thought, like, my life, if I did do that show with Saget, I probably would have gone back into politics, to be honest with you. I was working at the time on some stuff in Chicago and talked to people about running for, like, state senator and stuff like that. But no, like, comedy for me, I remember my brother took me to see Raw, Eddie Murphy Raw, in the theater, which was like, when my parents went to bed. He goes, all right, it was like Martin Luther King Day, so he didn't have to go back to college. He's a lot older than me. And we went to like an 11 o'clock Sunday show at Oak Brook Theater. There's like 5 people in the theater. And it was like, I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Raw was the first Eddie Murphy I saw as well in 8th grade, and I was like,
yeah. The things that he said, I was like, it felt so naughty and also so funny because, like, in hindsight, I'm like, I probably didn't get a lot of the shit he was saying.
Yeah.
But I just remembered love, and then I would watch Delirious with my friends and listen to Andrew Dice Clay, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is so fun. But I never thought I'd ever be on stage, and if I did, it was for music. I never, like, later in life when I was in college, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a musician. That's what I'm going to do. I started playing guitar. I was in bands, but I never thought I'd be do full-time stand-up comedy. And yeah, so. And then there was a period of time when I thought I was going to be Spider-Man, but that's a whole
nother
thing.
You gotta get bit
I
by a
stopped
radioactive
smoking pot.
spider, and
just get to know like the hidden parts about you. If you
shit.
could be in a talent show, right, but you couldn't do comedy, what would your talent be?
I mean, is this if for real? Like, what would I do, or what would be my dream thing to be able to?
What would
do?
you actually do? What
talents do you have?
What talent do you
I mean,
have?
I play the guitar. I can play the guitar pretty well. You know, I think I would probably try to put together probably a song to play. I've written some of my own music. It's not awesome, but it's not it's not the worst thing I've ever heard. So yeah, I would probably do something like that because I don't know what else in terms of like a talent show. I'm not sure what else I'd be able to do.
Sure.
That wasn't some sort of a performance. Like, I wish I was good at juggling. I wish I could do magic, but I can't do either of those things. So I would say guitar.
Sure.
I'm going to one-up John and say I play guitar and bass. And,
Oh, there you go.
And djembe.
You're gonna play? Oh, okay.
And my songs were good. My band got signed to a label.
Mine did not.
Our song was on CSI Miami for 12 seconds in January.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, no big
What was
deal.
the
it the
band?
same
Do you
one you
mind
were
name
on?
dropping? Or?
That was Chicago.
Med, yeah. But it was actually the funny part about that song. So we actually got signed to a vintage label, same as Jim Blossoms are on that too, name drop. And it was 20 years after the album was created. And then all of a sudden, like, they're like, yeah, we're interested in you. We don't have to tour or anything, but we just get royalties on stuff from our publishing. But the one song they picked from the album, which I think is hilarious, is the only song that it had nothing to do with. On the album.
Wow.
Like, I'm not
So
even.
you don't have writing credit on
No,
it?
I actually do because we decided to write all together. But it was
Okay.
one where I'm like, this song is, I don't like it. We're going to, you guys can do it without me. Because there's like, I wasn't a strong guitarist, but I surrounded myself with talent because I knew my weaknesses, John.
There you go.
And, I knew that I wasn't going to be Spider-Man or Hulk. And yeah, our band got signed, so I would win that talent contest if it was.
Oh yeah. I wasn't trying to win. I was just trying to get in there. That's all.
I just like the reaction on that one. So
That's exactly
Can we swear
right.
on this thing?
yeah, sure. We don't get to say whatever crap you want.
Yeah. So
I think I said something earlier where I was like, well, I hope that was okay. But yeah.
I asked permission.
None of this matters. Cool. So now I'd like to just get a few stories from you about
No.
your experiences doing comedy.
It was the best of comedy. It was the worst of comedy.
That's how everybody starts. It's weird. That must be a thing that they teach you that in LA. Is that on the billboard as you
It's on
drive
the
in?
billboard.
Okay.
Learn to do Dickens.
Sure.
Always works.
My favorite one I like to ask for. I love to start with this one, asking about stories, horror stories, just terrible experiences. Tell me just one of the worst experiences you've had doing stand up.
There's so many. I mean, I've had a couple. Like in hindsight, none of them seem that bad. You know what I mean? And you're funnier for having to go through them. I think. So, I would say I had one show where it was silence for a half an hour. It was. I'm from Illinois, so I saw one lady wearing a Chicago Bears jacket. I tried to talk football with. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. And two girls who I hadn't seen, who I went to college with, hadn't seen in a long time. They showed up because it was somewhere in Oregon, and they were like, "Oh, we live near there. We're gonna come and see you." And we had dinner, and we're having a great time. And then I go up, and I'm just featuring for this guy. I do a half hour, 30. Literally, I was watching the timer, and as soon as my half hour was up, I was like, "Good night, everybody." And there was I'm talking no laughter, nothing. It was so quiet for my entire 30 minutes. I was terrified. I got off stage, and I went to the headliner. I go, I'm so sorry, dude. And he goes, "For what, dude? Now I only have to do 45. Thank you." Like, he was so grateful that I didn't just bail after like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because someone has to fill that time at those shows. That's how they do it. They're like, and I've been at shows where my buddy was trying to get off stage because the crowd was like basically had their back turned. He's like, "Okay, I guess I'll see you later." And the lady comes out, she goes, No, 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Like they just do it like it's a time
Stretched
thing. Like they
out.
just need to fill a time, even though nobody cares or wants to hear it. That was pretty bad. And then I've had just like I did a casino gig that was like right around Thanksgiving that was in Winnemucca, Nevada, at a place called Winners Hotel and Casino. I think that's an ironic name, but yeah, that was a rough one. But it was again right around Thanksgiving. There's people like some real rough-looking folks in the crowd, and nobody was having a good time.
Yeah. Anything jump to mind for you, Paul?
Oh man. Well, I did a casino in Indiana once that was horrible. Unfortunately, I was hosting it, and we had 4 comics, and everybody bailed, so I had to make up all the time. So like 3 of the comics bailed, and in the end, the last comic, I go, "Dude, you have to eat some of this time too." And he's like, I got you, and then he didn't. So I ended up like going back after the last the headliner went on and doing more time.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. One of the times I had to host a music show, the fans started chanting the band that I was just doing this stuff while
you were doing your
set.
time.
And they weren't ready. Like they needed me to kill time. So I was like, "You guys," and it turned out okay. And like John said, like it made me a better comic. But I'm like, "You guys, they're doing a prayer circle right now. Like they're very religious. You guys are disrupting it." And I thought it was funny. Like the people that got it laughed, but they got madder at me.
Oh wow!
I guess they were really religious. So, so that was a nightmare. And
Learn to read the room.
Yeah.
and then 6 months into doing comedy, I opened for Bobcat Goldthwait, which was I was so bad. Like it was so bad. The room was set up wrong. It was the first time the venue was doing comedy. Oof. And they advertised him as the old Bobcat, so people were showing up thinking he's going to be this wild
guy from Police Academy.
Yeah, and he doesn't do that. He's a totally different comic. So he was already in a bad mood, but then he has a guy who's doing comedy for 6 months, doing 10 minutes before him, just bombing. And the good news about that is he got to see me like 6 years later. And I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me." He goes, "I do." And
I remember.
And I was like, "Was that better?" He's like, "Yeah, much." He said something complimentary, and I was like, "Okay, I'll take that as a compliment."
Yeah.
I was at the Laugh Factory in Chicago.
Sure.
So
I guess early on in your career, right? You bomb more. Bad circumstances come up randomly, but what's your process? How do you handle that? How do you handle a bad set? How do you handle bombing? How do you handle things just going wrong that you have no control over?
I actually think I'll take one of my biggest horrific times on stage was like I went to this place. I started doing comedy at the Ha Ha Cafe on Lancashire in Los Angeles in North Hollywood, and I did a couple open mics, and then they were like, "Hey, you're all right. You want to come back and do like a regular night, like do a set on a regular night?" And of course, my ego, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm perfect at this. I'm a natural." So I show up, and it's Latino Comedy All-Star Night, and I'm the only white guy on the bill, and the place is packed, and 40 of the people in there are people that I told about the show, who I was working with. So 40 people that I work with during the day are in this room, and I start to drink like 3-4 beers because I think I'm going on right at 8. And they're like, "Nah, we're gonna," because they see how many people I brought, they just pushed my time and pushed my time and pushed my time. And I kept drinking and drinking. And then I went up there at like 11 o'clock, and They left me on stage for 15 minutes. I didn't have more than 2 minutes of material, and that material was like, I'm Chris Elliott, and that was it. And then it was just like, my friend had a voice recorder. I asked him to record the set, and you could just, when you listen to the tape, you could just hear me talking, silence, and him go, oh. But what I wanted to get to is that afterwards, I walked outside, and I'm like sweating, and I'm like freaking out about how bad that went. And I'm just out there like, oh my God, this is so bad. My friend came out and he goes, hey, well, that's over. And I thought he was saying, that's over, you're done doing comedy forever. And I was like, yeah, man, that wasn't good. He goes, no, I mean, that's over. You got that out of the way. That right in there, what you just did, that is the worst you'll ever, you can't get worse than that, dude. That is the worst possible.
Only up from here, yeah.
You can only go up. That was so bad. And I was like, it was weird. It was like a weird like light bulb. I was like, yeah, that was it. I got the crappiest set of my life out of the way. So nothing has ever compared to that. Even when it's not going well, I still have tools that I can use to get out of those situations, or at least amuse myself till the end of my allotted time and then get out of there. But yeah, that the process of bombing, I just try to be as positive as I can about it. And like, usually, I used to go to this room. If I had good shows on the road, or if I had good shows around town, I would think, those have all been really good. And I would call this kid, Josh Fadum, ran a room in the bottom of this hotel, and I never did well there. Never had a good set there ever. Still to this day, haven't. But when I was feeling really good about myself, I would call Josh, and he would always give me a spot, and I would go down there and I would just eat it. And not on purpose. I would try to do a good job, and then I wouldn't do a good job. I go, okay, all right, I'm still capable of bombing at any given moment, you know. So it's kind of like keep myself in check. Sure. But the process for me is like just move on and get over it. It's subjective. If people didn't like you, that's fine. I get that. But if they were rude and throwing shit and like trying to fight you, that's a whole nother thing. And then that's on them. But like, you don't have to like me. I get that. You know, it's not every comic is for every audience member, you know. Yeah.
What about you, Paul? Is there any sort of process you have or formula you follow?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of stuff that Jon said. The big thing for me is if they're listening and they're not laughing, you should be, I record all my sets and I go back and listen, and 9 out of 10 times they're not as bad as I thought they were. If you record all your sets, you'll see what happened, and if they're jokes that, like, I have a few jokes I test up at all my sets to see, okay, if they're not laughing at those, then it's not
this other chunk has got to go out the window.
Or they're just not going to like me, so I'm just going to have fun. And that's just how it goes. But like I always tell people, like, if people aren't laughing but they're listening to you, you still have that control of the room, and you'll get better. But if they've tuned out and they start talking, that's when like you need to like address the situation, unless it's like a casino, because they're going to talk anyway.
Yeah, and you're only there. The casino would rather you not even be there. They want people gambling. They don't give a shit about your comedy. Yeah, I think I feel like I always address it when I'm doing poorly on stage. Like if it's not going well, I'll be the first guy to admit it, and I'll be like, okay, well this is.
But you don't turn on the audience.
I don't know.
I hate when people do that.
No, I don't turn. I never tell the audience you should have laughed harder at that joke. That's a good joke. I never do that, because
I hate when people
maybe
do
it's
that.
not. Maybe it's not a good joke to them. Just because I wrote it and it's a thing that's coming out of my pie hole doesn't mean that they have to go, oh my God, look at this bearded goon is a genius. Like.
So how do you approach dealing with a heckler then? I know you never want to break the room, and ruin the energy in the room. But like some people have said they like to turn the rest of the crowd on the heckler, or you try to just engage them but quiet them down nicely. Do you have an approach that you follow?
It depends, because I've never been like heckled where someone was like, you suck, or get off the stage. Like I've never been like angrily heckled. Yeah. But what happens is people who think that they're helping out or they're contributing to what you're doing. Yeah. Like when you make a comment that's supposed to be a joke and someone's like, oh, that's very true. That's like my husband Dan. My husband Dan does. And you're like, lady, no one cares about your husband Dan. And like, it's not that I don't care about your husband Dan. It's that like all these other people in the room paid for a show, not a one-way conversation between us. Like that's ridiculous. So those people are the most annoying, I think. because they think they're helping or they're
But
contributing.
they're also so harmless too,
They're
right?
hard,
So it makes it so hard
they
to.
mean well. They're not, it's not
They don't
malicious.
know.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like they're
yeah.
not like I'm gonna ruin your night. It's like I'm helping. It's always like it's usually somebody who's had a little bit too much to drink or or is just a little overzealous and really excited. And then there are people that wish they probably could have gone on stage at one point in their life or become comedians, and those people can present a slight problem if they try to get involved,
Yeah, yeah.
But again, it's usually people who are intoxicated, and most of the good clubs handle it right away, and they either tell those people to be quiet or get them out of there. But you always, bar shows, and it's hard for a bar owner to be like, "Hey, shut up."
Quit having fun in my bar.
Yeah, because then they don't want to come back to the bar, and the bar has comedy one night a month,
Yeah.
and they have booze the rest of the time, and they need business. So
Yeah.
it just depends on where I am, but I don't have like a set thing. I've only gone crazy on like 2 people, and this one girl would just not stop, and I was like, "What is your problem? Like, what is your problem?" And her boyfriend goes, "Finally," and I go, "Finally what?" And he goes, "Finally, someone's telling her to be quiet." I go, "Dude, why aren't you telling her to be quiet? Like, you're there with her. What is wrong with
Yeah,
you? Like,
yeah.
you want someone you're with to be obnoxious and it's people like that are frustrating." And then I had one drunk guy who out of nowhere just goes, "You're not coming to dinner at my house." And the room just goes totally quiet, and I go, "What? Did you just say I can't come over for dinner?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, well, this is upsetting," and I pretended to be hurt by it. And then I said then I think I eventually said I was going to hump his wife, and then he ended up they told him to leave. So we think he's gone. I make fun of him some more, and then like 10 minutes go by, and then in the middle of one of the jokes is like a lull, and I hear from the back, "I know where the door is!" And it was the same guy, and he'd still been in the room trying to find out how to get out. And I was like, "This is the best night of my life, everybody." But I don't have a set process.
Sure,
It's just situation by situation.
Yeah, I don't. If someone's talking during my set, I've never had someone say you suck or anything like that either. But I've had people thinking they're helping. I try to like tell them they're not, and then I try to because my thought is they paid to come out. They got a babysitter. They had a night. They don't want to ruin their night if they don't know. But if you warn them a couple times, then if it disrupts the show. My general rule is this: if they're talking and no one else is like looking at them, then I'm gonna move on.
You got to just troop through it.
But if I see people turning to them, I'm like, all right, now they're fucking it up.
You let them go if no one else can
Like
hear
last
them.
night, we had someone that was talking, but they weren't like rude. They just didn't know. Like, they were just like trying to help.
Yeah, they were like
Loud.
They
Well,
were
they have to-
they
with
kept
them
gasping
pointing
and,
toward
like,
you, right? Especially when they're close up. The rest of the audience oftentimes
don't
can't even
hear
hear
it.
it. Like,
So
just
then
gotta
it can
remember.
get weird if you're like, "Hey, what's the problem here at table 1?" The rest of the audience is like, "What happened at table 1? I didn't. I thought we
He
were
just
watching
doesn't
a
like
comedy
that
show."
person. Like-
Yeah. So you do. I think but you're right. When people start to be like having to turn around and what is going on back there, it's
Yeah.
like then you're rooting for paying customers, man.
Yeah.
You
Stay
can't-
in charge of the. Yeah, that's what I do. But no, I haven't. I don't like hecklers, but I don't if they're ruining the show. So I do a lot of shows at the Laugh Factory in Chicago, and they have a nasty show. It's like a midnight show where 90% of the audience is wasted.
Sure.
And they audition a lot of newer comics there, and there was a loud group that was going on, and I was closing out the show, and then I go, let me go on. I'm just gonna go on and just for 10 minutes, and then I just kind of destroyed the person, but not like really. I was just like getting it out. I'm like, say what you want to say to me, so the rest of the people can like have fun. And then
Yeah.
it was fun, and then
Yeah.
they kicked the person out.
Right on.
But they should have kicked him out a while ago.
Yeah, sometimes they wait too long, and I get it. It's paying a customer. It's all about the door and making the money.
Yeah.
But sometimes ruining the show for everybody else is not cool.
Yeah. Okay, enough of the negative stuff. Tell me about the set or the experience you had that made you fall in love with comedy, that affirmed, this is why I do this, or the thing that made you go, this is what I want to do, and that feeling stuck. Do you have an experience like that?
I don't know that I could narrow it down to one experience. I just know that even after that horrific, like my 4th set in, when I just completely ate it, like even after that, I was still, I would say early on and now, there was an in-between period where I didn't have the the idea in my head that like what I was very fortunate to be doing what I was doing. Like there was a chunk of time for me when I was like very like kind of a little bit, I don't want to say petty, but like I would get easily angered when other people would get specials or deals or whatever, and I would be like, well, I've been doing this just as long, and blah, 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 blah. And then the same thing that from when I started was none of that mattered. When I started, I just really like telling jokes. I like making people laugh. It feels good. So there's definitely a selfish aspect to it, but that's it. I like that. I like the immediate reaction. I like the when you're in a smaller room and everyone is in on we're all laughing at the same thing and we're all having a good time. Like, I like that. So I've always kind of, and more so now, and like I said when I started, but I'm just very fortunate to be able to get to do it for anybody ever. So I don't think, I don't know what I'm really trying to say. I guess I don't. It's all positive for me. I don't have necessarily a specific time where I was on stage going, "This is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." Because I think the first time I ever went on stage, I was like, "Ooh, I like this."
Yeah.
And it only grew from there. Even when I don't do well, like I said, and these stories, like hearing about all this stuff, to me is like why comics are kind of a tight-knit community. Is because we go through, like, even though like we are all very different of who we are and what we do when we get home or whatever, there's no difference to like having to stay in a crappy motel, having a bomb in front of a band, like a band's crowd that hates you, like that, all that shit. Sorry, that wish they could.
They just wanted to see the band, right?
But that kind of bonds us all in a way that other professions, like, I mean, musicians have the same thing, because you go play these one-nighters and you travel in a van and it gets gnarly, but within that community, other people don't understand any of that stuff. They think what you do, they come and see a packed show, they're like, my gosh, every night of your life must be a magical rainbow. And you're like, oh yeah, this is like 1 in 70. So, but you do it anyway, because it's not a packed room, and just because you're in a podunk town or somewhere that you would rather not be, doesn't mean those people don't need to laugh just like everybody else. And especially now, with the society we live in, people need to laugh harder now than they've ever needed to laugh before.
Yeah. Well, the thing that John said about bands, they might experience the same. I actually did tour in bands and stuff like that, and it's not the same in one way. People always ask me the difference, and it goes back to answering your question. With bands, if you have a bad show or you guys aren't on, you have 4 other people on stage with you, and maybe they're like, okay, they don't like alt country or whatever it is that you're playing, but when you're on stage and it's just you, if they don't like you,
they don't like you.
They don't like you. But the flip side of that is when they do like you, and you have a great show, it's that much more heightened. And so for me, like, I joke, but like you're still chasing that first high from the first time you did stand up. I still am chasing that rush. And then some of the best. I don't have one specific show, but like recently I've been starting to headline more. And the first time I got to headline a weekend at like a club way far from home was probably like one of the best shows, because I was like, oh man, I don't know if I have an hour of stuff for this. It was an older crowd. I'm like, I got to be kind of clean. And then like I ended up doing only 30 minutes of my material. I ended up just having fun with the crowd, and it was amazing. So. Do I still have to clap?
Come on, dude.
Cool. Okay, joining us now is a local comedian, up-and-comer Zach Ashton.
Stop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Stop.
Okay. All right, Zach, we want you to get to know him now. It's kind of, we're turning it on its head, right?
Boy, howdy.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little game. I'm going to tell you stuff about Zach, like a point, an anecdote, whatever, some little thing about Zach. And you guys, you can ask him questions about it, and you need to guess if it's true or false. I'll record points. Whoever wins at the end, has the most points when we're done, gets to pick a shot for Zach to drink, and we encourage it to be gross. Like, you could pick like glass of piss, and he'll do it. So,
Glass of piss?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a shot here.
We'll see. Nobody's ever ordered it yet, but
is there any other prizes?
If
nope,
Steve-O
that's it.
can
You
do
get to,
it, I can do it.
Brownie or something?
So that if you want, we'll figure it out.
You get a
sweeten the
second
deal
lunch.
a little bit. yeah, right.
Eat all of it.
You get my fries. Like, okay, so like I said, I'll tell you something about him. Go ahead, ask him questions about it, and then true or false, and we'll go from there. First point about Zach. Zach once stole a pair of random shoes after his were stolen at a trap house at a house party on the weekend.
What's a trap house?
It's
I
like
don't
a
know.
drug house. It's a seedy place. Crack house, you can call it, but there was no crack, so.
Molly House.
Yeah, Molly house,
Trap
speed house.
What shoes did you lose?
I lost a pair of Vans, Jeff Rowley Vans.
Jeff Raleigh Vans. What color were they?
Red and black.
What shoes did you pick up?
I stole a pair of Etnies,
Etnies. What color were they?
blue and white. They did not fit.
Those
What
are
size
true.
were they?
They were 11, so too big.
You wear a size
10.
Were the Vans a size 10?
Yeah, the Vans are size 10.
Did you ever see the Vans again?
No. I was so bummed too.
You sound like a cop right now.
Where were you when the Vans disappeared?
I was in the living room, and apparently, don't take your shoes off in a trap house. That's the important life
I was about to
lesson
ask
I learned.
why the fuck were your shoes
I was
off
very
in some
polite.
crack
I was
house in the
a
first
child.
place?
I was young. I was like
How young were you?
16.
16.
I thought
Why
be
were you-
polite, you know.
Oh, hey, I don't want to mess up your crack
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
I'll walk around in my
There were
stocking
other
feet.
shoes on the floor. I mean, there were shoes to steal once mine were stolen. So you know. So I wasn't the only one who took
How
them
much
off.
was there furniture in this place?
Like gross couches that you could probably get at like Salvation Army. You know, the backs
Were
are
there
all
mattresses on the
permanently- No, no mattresses on the ground.
Not that kind of trap house.
Not that bad.
Was there a front and a back entrance?
No, it's a trap door.
There was only a front door that I can remember. I don't think I went out. There's probably a back door. There's probably a back door.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got my decision.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's have it. What do you think? True or false?
I think that's true.
Also think it's true.
This one is actually completely true.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
So point for each. We're on the
Point
board
for
right
each.
away. Okay.
Do I get credit because I didn't have to ask 80 questions? Is there timing?
I did right away too.
Eventually, we do have to stop. But okay.
I just
Next
wanted to
point
make sure
about
we could
Zach.
answer a couple of things without hesitating.
Right. You're getting the feel for the next questions. I get it. You're like a lawyer.
For the last, next point about Zach. For the last 6 years, Zach has been maintaining a mod status on a subreddit dedicated to proving that Kurt Cobain is still alive.
What's a mod status?
I'm a moderator, which means I
moderator.
can I have the power. I can kick people out. I can let people.
How many people are on this?
That's like 35. It's not many.
This is true. I'm already ready.
Yeah, that's true.
This one's actually false. They won't let him be a mod.
Oh, so he's on the Reddit, but he's not
Yeah.
the
So
moderator.
no points scored there. Okay.
Oh, that's kind of a trick question.
Next point about Zach, or story about Zach. Next thing. Zach used to launch dog poop onto his neighbor's roof to avoid picking it up as a child. Picking
What
it
was he
up.
launching it with?
Okay, so it's like a big spoon, which was weird. It was like a
This is true.
chili spoon.
I'm going to say true.
And I didn't want to bag it, so I flung it over the fence, and a lot of it went on the roof.
I'm gonna say true too. That sounds like something you would do.
This one's true.
It's
Zach,
true.
Zach threw dog poop at his neighbor's house. He's a bad person. Everybody gets a point.
Maybe that helped the shingles.
Yeah.
It's like,
It helped their house smell
It's
better.
a sealant of some kind. I don't know that much about poo.
He said.
When-
He winked.
Okay, next point about Zach. When Zach was 13 at summer camp, he tried to save a pretty girl who he thought was drowning, even though he couldn't swim.
Where was this at?
This was at, well, where is it? It's kind of by like Hammond, which is
Indiana?
here.
Oh.
No. There's a Hammond in Minnesota. It's like off a lake.
Halfway up toward Minneapolis.
Is it horrible there too?
Yes, there's a lot of
Just kidding. I
mosquitoes.
love Hammond.
It's-
See me there
no,
next
Hammond's-
Tuesday.
Hammond is the worst. There is nothing going on in Hammond.
It's a great town in Indiana, at least.
Oh, okay. Because
I don't know.
There's a shitty Hammond.
I just want
here.
people to like me. This could go either way. John, answer your 80 questions.
What color hair did the girl have?
Blonde.
What was her breast size?
Well, we were like 12. So
13.
Right.
John,
Good answer.
nothing.
Good
So
answer.
nothing.
Good answer. What was her immediate response when you swam up to her?
I didn't swim up. I
You
sort
just
of
jumped in and
ran
started
into the
drowning?
water to like try and like and
She was
then-
like, "I'm not drowning, you idiot."
Yeah, it was sort of like that, and then I was drowning. You know?
So you ran in deep enough that you then lost footing on the.
Yes,
you
and I
were-
thought maybe just bounce a lot, like that'll save you, but that's not how that works.
I'm gonna say true. You seem like a guy who would try to help somebody even though you couldn't swim yourself.
I'm going to say false just because I want to be different from John on this one so we can start breaking the
Sure. Okay, this one is actually false. It wasn't a summer
Yes!
camp. He's just a creep.
Nice.
All right, we got a point for Paul.
I'm in the lead.
Takes the lead. Next story about Zach. Zach still holds the state record for the shortest run in children's bull riding at the Minnesota State Fair.
How old were you?
9.
Who was the youngest before you?
Oh, it's not the youngest, it's the shortest.
Who had the shortest time before
The shortest time before me was probably 2 seconds. I lasted less than that.
You
How long
lessons.
did you last?
$1?
Like $1 basically coming right out of the gate. Like it opened and it threw me immediately.
They let kids do that?
On little bulls. They're not putting you on like the big
Yeah, but
adult
that could
ones.
cause permanent damage.
Yeah, this is the Midwest, baby.
Did you wear a helmet?
Yes, you have to wear a helmet. With the cage face thing too, so it was very cool.
I'm gonna say true. I'm already ready. Also, we get bonus points if we say true first. If we both say true.
Like how you're adding your own point system.
I mean, how are we gonna break the ties?
Are you a competitive person?
I'll say false then, so he can just get this point.
Okay, this one's actually false. They don't record the record for it. He just got made fun of.
Yeah, I just got made fun of.
So John takes a point. We're tied back up. Next story about Zach. Zach once had a show as a comedian that went horribly awry when he caught a woman giving a secret tickle in the audience.
Why did it go awry?
Look, I pointed it out, and they were very offended that I had blown their spot. I had blown their cover.
How old was the
What
lady?
jokes were you doing that someone wanted to
I
get someone else a hand
agree.
job?
I agree with that. They were not sexy enough jokes.
I've heard a lot of hand jobs in comedy shows lately. Like a lot of.
Yeah.
Is the hand job making a comeback? Something I don't know about? I kind of thought it went out the window.
It's a dark
after
room.
middle
They
school
were
or whatever.
they were
hand
not
jobs
the
are
kind of
good.
people you wanted to catch receiving or giving a hand job.
I think the
though.
kind of people that are going to give each other hand jobs at comedy shows are not the kind of people I want to see give hand jobs at all. Yeah. Where was the show?
Myrtle,
Myrtle,
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
How old were these people?
Oh man, they had to be in the early 50s. But how do you know when they're that? You know,
Disgusting.
Moo-moos. Where would they wear moo-moos for fun? You know what I mean? Ugh.
What did the woman have all her teeth?
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't check them gums.
The guy have a ponytail?
The guy did not have a ponytail, no, but he was wearing a trucker cap, like we were talking about, and a vest.
A vest, a
Yeah.
leather vest.
No, flannel.
Okay.
Flannel vest.
Okay.
Flannel.
All right. Could be just an outdoorsman.
Yeah. Well, this is Myrtle. This is like middle of goddamn nowhere. You've been there.
I'm ready with
Giving
my
hand jobs
answer.
in Myrtle.
I'm ready with
You've
my
been
answer.
giving hand jobs in Myrtle, Andy. You know.
I'll say true.
I'll say false.
False. This one is actually false. Zach called them out for giving
Love.
They weren't doing it. They weren't. He just made it awkward. That's
just
all it
made
was.
it really awkward.
So Paul takes a point.
Sorry, John. You're just not good at
Don't,
it.
Okay.
don't be.
Okay.
They're over it. They're like, I don't give a shit.
We could see the back side and it says false and true. So you're giving away the answer.
I wasn't even reading it.
Okay.
I'm bad at,
didn't-
I'm bad
In
at
order
cheating.
now. Yeah.
didn't
You ain't
see it.
cheating. You ain't trying. You know what I mean?
Baseball.
When Zach was in a metal band, he was once sued for throwing the weighted mic stand into the audience and hitting a person.
False.
What were you sued for?
Just like destruction of
Being too sexy.
being too sexy.
Who sued you?
The person tried to.
Oh.
I can't
What
say
was
their
the
name.
injury?
They weren't really injured. That was the fucked up thing. I was like, really? You're not
So
even.
the case settle or what happened?
Yeah, it was covered by the venue. So the venue
gonna say
stepped
true.
in and said, no, you can't sue for
Okay.
that. You know?
So we have a true from Paul and a false from John. This one is actually false. He completely made that up. John's got a point. We're tied up 4
I've
to
never
4.
thrown a mic
So
on.
this
I've always
this
wanted
is
to.
the
You're getting a
deciding
point.
point.
This is it. This
Okay.
is it.
This is the deciding point. I recommend going opposite, whatever way you want to go, just to have a
Nope,
winner.
Same. We're in this to win it together.
Do it however you want. None of the crap matters.
However you want.
Okay. Zach was recently suspended with pay from his job working for the public school system because an audience member was a parent of one of the students that he works with, and he told jokes about working for the school system, and they reported his jokes to the school verbatim.
First of all, that person, if they did that, can fuck off. Secondly, that doesn't sound legit.
How old are the kids?
3rd through 5th grade. Well, I also work an after-school program that I'm no longer legally allowed to mention, but that goes all the way from kindergarten to 5th grade.
I'm gonna say true.
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta say false, otherwise we're gonna have a stupid tie. So.
Okay. This one's actually completely true. He's on paid leave right
I'm
now.
on paid leave right now, bitches, for
That
offending
is
somebody.
insane.
For offending
Brownies for
somebody.
everybody. We all get brownies.
And then they were like, now that you know that you've offended someone, are you gonna change your jokes?
What?
And I
No.
was like, that's literally what I said. I was like, no.
Now I'm gonna
Not a
make
chance.
more of the same
Yeah.
jokes.
And the HR guy was
No,
like,
it's a callback.
you have a bit about having a gun in school. Would you please tell us that joke? And I just looked right at him and I'm like, Carl, you haven't bought a ticket.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Get fucked.
Come to the show,
This
dude.
is seriously what we're doing
Now
here?
I charge $40 a ticket.
Yeah, for just you.
That's free press.
Yeah.
You should leak it to the public.
I should.
My jokes are causing controversy.
Controversy, yeah.
Okay, Paul is our winner.
Okay.
So
Good
by
job,
the rules
Paul.
of the game, yeah, congratulations, Paul.
Like to thank
Now you
everybody.
can make,
Now you eat a
can
second
make
lunch in front of
him
us.
Have whatever he wants for a shot, and we'll work on getting a brownie going.
I'm trying to think of this shot that it was. I can't remember if there was a squirt of mayonnaise in it.
Oh, it's a
Tapeworm.
tapeworm.
He already had to
The
do one.
I've had to do one before. I'll do it again.
I've done one of those.
Oh.
I'm not a fan.
No, they're terrible. They're
Do you
really
guys have
bad.
Malort here?
No, that's another. So that's a Chicago liqueur, apparently,
I'm
right?
ordering
We've
a
had
bottle
people
in.
ask for that,
This is like the 5th time.
yeah, so many times so
I
far.
need to get it just for this.
I don't know. How about it's called the Gin-tastic, which is gin with
That's it.
ranch.
Are you serious?
Oh, gin with
I mean, I
ranch.
just made it up, but it sounds good. It sounds legit.
It's called the Ganch. Gin and ranch.
The Ganch, ladies and gentlemen.
The Ganch ranch.
The Midwestern people are gonna freak out when they hear about this.
It's a typical shot where we're from. I've never heard of it.
So what are we ordering?
Is that what we're going with?
Gin and ranch? How about gin and
Rail
blue
gin
cheese?
and
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be. You don't have to drink it.
That's true. Gin and blue cheese.
Gin and blue
A
cheese.
shot
Even
of
though
gin
John lost,
with
he
a
came
little
up
blue
with the
cheese.
No,
idea.
but I was helping.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you call the gin and blue cheese? Is like the geese.
The geese.
Geese.
It's not as good as Ganch. That's not as
But
good
ranch
as
is like tasty.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm
It's
not
called
a.
the Golden Girl Gin.
It's called the Blanche Dubois.
The Blanche Dubois. I think we
Yes,
have it. Okay.
the Blanche
Dubois.
Zach's going to do a Blanche Dubois.
All right, you gonna go you order it? All right.
We got to do the clap.
Oh,
Cool.
Yeah, that's called the R.
I'll
Kelly.
have 2 R. Kellys and a Blanche Dubois. Me and my friends.
A little
Okay.
Blanche Dubois with an R. Kelly pickleback.
We'll do the clap.
Chaser.
He just sprayed on your head.
Cool.
Ah.
Okay. Okay, we're back. We have the Blanche Dubois. This is rail gin with a dollop of blue cheese dressing. This
Rail
is
gin,
a
not
new
even Beefeater.
No.
It looks like swans.
It's like
in there.
stuck
Like
to the
pretty
bottom.
swans.
It
I don't
looks
know.
like
I need to poke it with a
of, like,
French fry.
I do.
What
I
do
need to poke it with a French fry.
It's like caulking.
Yeah, right. No, it looks loose. It kind of jiggled. It all
Oh,
go down
God.
the hatch.
Okay.
Open it.
So Paul's the winner.
This one's for Paul winning.
The Blanche
The
Dubois.
Blanche Dubois. Good job, Paul.
Bad.
It like solidified a little bit.
When you finish it, you have to say thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a
You
friend.
don't get a chaser. You have to say thank you. And 1 cup of thank you for being a friend.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Oh, my tummy.
Yeah, how does that sit? Is it?
Does it sit?
I think we're in the bowels now, so we're good.
It's a dancing fool
He's
down
a trooper.
there.
He handles these with style and grace.
You're like, there's
so-
an ambulance waiting outside.
Yeah.
It's totally. We have a medic on set.
Are you proud of me yet, Father?
The things we
Your
do.
dad's just checking boxes like, no.
No.
Didn't know you could lower it further.
He's
Actually,
adjusting the
I'm less
will.
proud than
Every
I
one of
was
these
this
I do.
morning.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for this episode of Road Lunch. Thank you to the Crooked Pine. Thank you to Goonies. Thank you to our comedians, Jon Huck and Paul Farahvar, for joining us. We appreciate it a great deal. Thanks for Zach Ashton being a good sport as always.
Good
My
job.
name's Andy Fisher. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Road lunch, 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 road lunch. Having lunch on the road.
Hi, I'm Jon Huck, and you can watch my web series My Death Co. At mydeathco.com or on YouTube.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's Paul Farahvar, common spelling, or my website, Paul F Comedy, or listen to my podcast, Singles Only Podcast, available wherever you podcast.
I also have a podcast called the Hollywood Anonymous Podcast. It's on iTunes every Monday. And you can also follow me on Twitter at JONHUCK.